Thank you very much, Mr. Rampam. And you highlighted the unseriousness of the government clearly by citing that example of River State political crisis, and he declared state of emergency. While states that needed that state of emergency so badly, there was no action whatsoever from the federal government. So I think it is fair of us to say the federal government is not serious. If rule of law is what is supposed to govern us, and protecting the life and properties of the weak and vulnerable citizenry should be the essence of the existence of any government, then Nigerian government is a stark failure. However, I want to get to the root cause of the problem, because if we don't understand the root cause of the problem, we can't solve the problem. The same president that we have today is the president that have been ranting on social media that Goodluck Jonathan should resign back in 2014, 2013. But today, the issue is even worse. And I am actually a young person, but I go through a lot of history, and I find out that our people have been coexisting together for years on these lands. As a matter of fact, Plateau State, my own home state, you can go back like 2000, hundreds of years, these people have been together. What is the root cause of the problem that all of a sudden in the 21st century, we're having this feud that are translated into hostility of that magnitude?
It is multifaceted. And first of all, I'm also from Plateau State, and you know that. And of course, I agree with you that we're living peacefully. First time I went to see my grandfather in the village some years back, there's a portion of land that looks clear. Not really a house there, but the space was kept. So I was telling him, why don't we build there? And he said, no, that place is for, as my cousin telling me, that place is for our grandfather's friend. He's a Fulani man. They come with their families and live there. After the season, they go. And so the friendship has been there. So you can find even some of us, some Christians, because of their closeness with the then herders that were around. You can have a baby, and because your friend is a Fulani man, comes and say, no, call him Buba. You give him his name, and they laugh about it. And the actually takes the name. I have friends who are Christians, but their names are Abubakar and the rest of them. That was how we were living. And it was beautiful then. Now, having said that, at some point, there is a deterioration and the level of trust. To the extent that when something happens, it is giving a farmer herder BS. There's nothing like that. When they were living together, if there's any issue of the cattle straying, or sometimes very young children, young Fulani children that take the cattle out, then they can make those mistakes. In fact, before you go, the father will come to your house and say, sorry, my son has accidentally pushed things into your farm. Please, let's go and check it. How much will I compensate you for it? It is done like that. And if there is like a row, the community leader, they are not even the village chief, the community leaders are come, what's happening? And it's resolved. You wouldn't know it. We have cousins who are Muslims. I have nephews who are Muslims, and sometimes we go to the mosque together. During the fast, you read the tafsir, we're there. We listen, we enjoy it. So there's a lot that we are able to gain from each other. The general consensus or the understanding or the public consensus is it's political and so on. Yes, there's an iota of that. But with your apologies, whenever there's an incident, the element is like the extremists, the Islamic extremists. Some say the jihadist extremists. Now, for me, personally, this is simply a jihad by extremists. We know that there are about 4 types of broad bands of jihad. Jihad is it only has an evil connotation because of the way it's taken. But there are 4 brands. There is jihad of your own self as a worshipper. There's jihad of the pen, so that you as your own self, you fight tendencies to go against what is commanded by either the hadith or the Quran. It is your responsibility. You want to go about and do evil, steal, go sleep around with people's wives. You have to fight that on your own. So it is like evangelism from the Islamic perspective. But remember, we have the Sunnis and the Shias, and there is a more radical faction within them. And always there is a beat in order to evangelize through jihad, whether it's by the pen or yourself. There's also, of course, armed jihad, when you have to go to war to defend yourself, or sometimes just to expand territory. This was very much the case in the early 17th, 18th, and even 19th century, where might is right. So you conquer a territory, you stay there, you reach out to those who are surviving, convert them. And the Crusaders did so as Christians, quote and unquote. So in that time, those things were accepted. And that was the norm. That was the rule of the day. With the advent of civilization and tools are coming out, if we base religious evangelism based on might is right, it simply means that the very day an extremist, whether Christian, Muslim, or just a freethinker, runs into the realm of power of a country that has nuclear capabilities, nobody can stop that. Because in the personal jihad that one can do to himself, which is self-restraint and compliance with the words of the prophet and the holy books, some clerics can use that and deepen and twist the understanding of a normal, regular Muslim to believe that he should go and destroy places, killing himself, and they do that. So it is this faction of extremists that is causing the problem in Nigeria. But we have mostly Shias and Sunnis. Shias mostly Katsina, Kanu, Sokoto, Katsina, Kanu, yes, Yobe, and the rest of them. Mostly Nigeria is like Sunni. So we have those 2 factions. Now, how do they live together? When I grew up, I wasn't so much into that. So it is that faction that is busy eating up. And the idea for me is to take the Quran down to the Atlantic, which can be done by the normal ways that it has been done. My cousins who married Muslims have children called Abdullah and the rest of them. They are still my own nephews and nieces, and I still love them. You can expand in that way. And sometimes it is very, very easy and simple to do business with a Muslim, because sometimes you find out that they are very honest and they place their trade on the basis of what the holy book tells them. And you hardly find a Muslim cheating you, like, obviously. So those would have been better alternatives of conquering any nation. But the extremists lack the patience to wait and follow it through. They have 4 wives. An average Christian family is 4 children. We have members of the National Assembly who have 30, 20. And that's just one generation. So it will do. Europe is technically moving in that direction. So they should have been a bit more patient. Then there was the weaponization of poverty by the politicians. They also caused it. Right from the time of Jonathan, Jonathan said his cabinet has been infiltrated by Boko Haramists. It doesn't mean that he went to Boko Haram camp and recruited them. They are just some of these extremist elements that found their way into government, into the Nigerian army, right before this thing came to happen. So they are there. So it's difficult to actually work without appreciating that background. The government would have, right from the time that the Saudi Arabia sent the list of terrorist concepts, that's like the pinnacle of Islam. And if they are sending you a list, it is expected that tell Nigerians, oh, we thank the Almighty. Respite has come. These are the people sponsoring it. Then take action. Once you take action, the funding for the activities will quell. And you cannot have people within the corridors of governance or the military giving a narrative that is not suitable. So it's right from there. Millions of Muslims are not happy, especially the targeted killings that are going are mostly indigenous Muslims. From my own perspective, mostly people who don't have any other where to go apart from Nigeria. So that for me is the root. That for me is what I would say the Ummah, the Muslim Ummah, should come together and call those people to order. And the government itself should go beyond saying they are in my cabinet to point them out. They should also go into all the panels and the committees, presidential committees they have set on security, and look at the recommendations. If you want to solve the issue, you can. Almost all former military hierarchy, former chief of defense staff and the rest of them say, follow the money. The money is coming from somewhere. They will tell you this thing can be solved. They'll say, why? We don't have government backing. There is lack of government will. And it is a diplomatic way of telling you that the people in government don't want to solve it for personal reasons. They don't want to anger their friends whose hands are in the cookie jar, who are culprits in this. They want to have votes from those places. So they will always play the ostrich. You want to have votes, but you don't want to anger the people. But their own people are being killed. So what do we do? So that is the root. I think we also just have to tell ourselves the truth. Let the National Assembly rise up to this occasion. It is not a matter of tribe, religion. It's a matter of Nigeria. And forget your political party. Represent Nigeria. Quell this thing. Stop the funds from any highway, coastal highway that ships will not follow. Pull them and put into security, and do that with every sincere intent. Urge the military if you have to, but get this job done. You have the intelligence, you have the equipment, you have the manpower, you have the dedication of people who don't want to see their relatives die. So it falls back to the government side.
Thank you very much, sir. Actually, I must say something that is not usual on the TV broadcast. You are actually a very, very honest person. I've never had someone just highlighted everything in a space of statesman, and everything that you said is true. And that's actually the problem. For example, as a Muslim, I must take responsibility. There are Muslim extremists who believe that they can do that evangelism through coercion, and it can work through that medium. By the way, they are misrepresenting the religion in its entirety. As you rightly mentioned, during the time of the Prophet and fast forward to the 18th and 19th century, it was a known that might is right. But 2020 and 20th century and the 21st century, the advent of civilization, we understand that it is only the brain, not the muscle, that matters. But some people are still left in those places, still believing that maybe you can coerce someone into acceptance. And further, I believe we should, if the government is responsible, the best way to de-radicalize them is to educate them. The biggest problem we have in northern part of Nigeria, as far as I am concerned, is not necessarily religion, but what you highlighted, poverty first, and then illiteracy second. Because in a country whereby 75% of the population are under the age of 30, which means 160 million Nigerians are young people, and you have the level of unemployment in the country, there is a saying that an idle mind is a devil workshop. So these young people, how are you going to do with them? I was in a conversation with my friend, I was telling him something. I said, as a young man, now I am working, I'm having something to do. Can you imagine someone who going to university, study, but could not get anything to do? And there are people that are even worse, those who are not even prevailed to have that education in the first place. So de-radicalizing the people is through education first and foremost. And I understand the nuance of your perspective about the argument. And more to it, like as a Muslim, I think we can disagree on that. We believe that part of the problem of insecurity, particularly in the North Central, has to do with intolerance. For example, I'll cite an example with some of the events that happened after some states in northern part of Nigeria adopted Sharia, which up to today, I'm a young man, but it does not make sense for me as in Plateau State will adopt Sharia because as far as I know, the governor, the deputy governor, the state assembly speaker are all Christians. So who is going to impose the laws, the Sharia law to the people? Why are they afraid of Sharia? Because if the government are the one to bring that Sharia, they are safe. And second of all, Sharia is a law only applicable on a Muslim. A non-Muslim, Sharia law is not applicable to him. And even during the Ottoman rule, when the Ottoman kingdom were kind of superpower, or they governed the largest territory in the world, 70% of its population were Christians. And there was no forceful conversion to Islam, persecution or conversion to Islam. And even the Sharia law, it is if and only if the Christians themselves accept that we want to be governed by the Sharia. So why is it that some people will come in the 21st century and just say, no, today we want everyone to be practicing Sharia? It doesn't make sense to me. And they are not even representing Islam, by the way. They are minority, they are fringe members of Islam. But the major problem is the silence of our leaders. Our leaders have failed us squarely, both leaders from the political lens, cultural lens, personal lens, and social lens. They failed us. They don't want to confront the truth. You see someone who is doing bad thing, instead of confronting him, and because he belongs to your own people, you just let it slide. So all these issues, I believe, they are what have come together to breed what we are seeing today in Nigeria. But notwithstanding, we can't lose faith. How can we navigate this hard time and come out of it as stronger as we were before?
Okay. Well, if you have a piece of broom in your eye, the solution to stop tearing and feeling the pain is to remove it. The problem here is we have extremists in Al Qaeda, according to their beliefs, jihadist extremists. So, from the government's side, in their non-kinetic approach, they should work with the Ummah and let them know that it is their duty to condemn the actions of extremists in the interest of the country. So far, you hardly have anything. I believe you and I know that one of the things is once it is declared silently that it is a jihad, whether you are agreeing with it or not, for you to speak against it sometimes, you will be declared an apostate. You are now an infidel because you are not pursuing the cause. So if you have one that is not properly educated in the tenets of the religion, the person is easily convinced to believe, yes, I'll have to do it, I'll have to succumb. But let the educated part of the Muslim Ummah speak out, get to the mosque, a lot of meetings happen. Let the extremists know that they are driving the country into chaos and disintegration. If it happens, the most populated black nation in the world, 230 million on paper, Lumumba believes it's about 300 million. There is no African country that can contain the refugee outflow out of Nigeria, and it will never benefit anyone. Now we're talking, we don't want Trump to come in because they're coming for our natural resources. When the place is at war, it's a free-for-all. Russia can come in, China can come in, US can come in, everybody can come in, create small factions and keep the place in perpetual destruction. But right now is when there could be collaboration with the US properly. Personally, I would subscribe to boots on the ground from the United States. Let's not shy away from it. If you have multiple attacks, in fact, the terrorists have just come short of telling us that we are fools. You attack, you take people, victims from Kwara, you release them. The following day, you take another batch from the same. What's going on? So they should start playing with their intelligence, both the government and the terrorists. And I would have subscribed immediately for state policing, but it has to be done with care. And nobody needs to tell you that you should defend yourself. If like Jackson in Adamawa, I have a pregnant wife, I'm in the farm, I'm attacked. Hey, I will do worse than Jackson. You will not kill my wife in my presence. You better kill me first. So we need to have these things addressed purely and squarely. We need to have it organized. Go for state policing in a way that you, the vigilantes that are existing. We have the elite force that was put together. Bring them, reactivate the elite force, train them. We know that in everywhere there's vigilante, they are trained in Nigeria. They are taken to Abuja or Kanu for the final training before they are certified as vigilantes. And when they come back, they function under the state police force, under the Nigerian police force in their states. Pay them, give them some stipends, let them feel they belong, let them have dedication and commitment to it. Because when you bring them, whoever, whether current serving soldiers or policemen, and they see their friends who are now extremists with Boko Haram, ISWAP, or Lakurawas making more money buying cars, they are easily tempted. They can now sell their weapons. They can sell ammunition. Pay our security people well. You can't expect them to take a knife to a gunfight and say, okay, our vigilantes should go with locally fabricated pump action where you put the bullet on you. What are you doing? I love the action taken by the southwestern states governors. They are the ones defending the lives of the people, and they appreciate the need to do that. The right to life, it's non-negotiable. And when the government is not doing that, at least the cluster there says, okay, we're going to defend our people, come what may. So government should not allow that to be done in clusters. Let them have a rule or I learned middle belt governors want to come together as well, not central, to do something about it. You need to engage these youths that are unemployed, train them. You may have one or two bad ones, but largely there are people who don't want to see their relatives die. Work with the police and intervening military. Bring a force if you can, all the technology that you can get from the US, and work. In fact, I'll subscribe. US will join us now, like yesterday. Take the initial upfront when it is subsided and we have cleared the military of the molds and we have a good vigilante. Then the good ones will be now, they are the ones you will take into the Nigerian army and take into the Nigerian police and the Air Force. Those are the ones that you bring in, people who have proven their worth as local vigilantes and they have the real thirst to liberate their people from this quagmire. And the US can go back and we continue. So, but right now, we need all the help we can get locally and internationally. We need to reactivate the vigilantes. We need to reactivate the elite force that have been neglected throughout the country, bring them in and enrich the security architecture, and let the military purge itself. And let's have this issue dealt with. Let's have the seriousness. It will not hurt if we close our schools from now till January, as long as we have people dedicated to seeing that it is squashed. It will not hurt at all if civil servants will work for 3 days in a week. They can work from home. Most work is done on the computer and the phones, and then go reduce the cost since it's expensive to even go and come. And then go in those days, you reduce random movement. People who are on essential duty should be the ones that are expected to be following their shifts, their shifts. Policemen, traffic people, medical doctors, and the likes. They should be consistent. All of this should reduce. Push all resources. Get all the ammunition you want and face this thing headlong. It will not last up to a month, max 2 months. They can do it. Metasine came up in 1984. How long did it take? A week, 2 weeks after the Bloody Monday. It was clear. Once there's government will and determination, they will do it. Our military is one of the best. They say it is not trained for guerrilla warfare. I take exception to that. Was ECOMOC a country-to-country fight, the Liberia, was internal guerrilla warfare. And who quelled it? Nigerian army led the West African force. They can do it. We have generals. Finally, call back those gallant generals that were sacked because you wanted to pick somebody down the ladder of the hierarchy. Get a committee of them. Call this past head of state that have told you that we have Boko Haram even in the cabinet of the presidency. Sit together. Leave all your differences aside. You are no longer APC or PDP or Muslim or Christian. You are Nigerian leaders. Bring up a solution and execute it immediately. You can't take the giant of Africa for now, the hyena of the region. It is a shame.
Yes, because we have got little time left. I was going to ask you about this state police of a thing, because President Tinubu, in his statement, clearly expressed his support for state police. He said, and I quote, "I call on the National Assembly to begin reviewing our laws to allow states that require state police to establish them." End of quote. So now my question to you is this. State police has been a long-standing issue in our national discourse. Even when things were not as bad as they are now, Nigerians still talked about it as a potential punishment, waited until things have gotten worse before declaring its support for state police.
Yeah, actually they waited. They waited. They were doing business as usual. You know, we have only two classes in Nigeria, the political elite and the rest of us Nigerians. So anything that will stop them, will remove the monopoly from their hands, they will not do. And state police will bring security to that region. Therefore, more people will come out to vote. Therefore, the breeze will blow and their backyard will open and people will vote for who they want to. They won't want that. People will be, I mean, when you have a quantum number of people coming out to cast their votes, these are the likely numbers that will want to see their votes count. So it curtails manipulation to a large extent. And these are the possible people that will hit the streets and tell you, look, that is not what we got in our polling units. But when people are not coming out, they thrive. So, but right now, it is showing them in the state assembly, the National Assembly, the executives, as being disgraced. And they're complaining that Trump is saying that they're disgraced. If they tell you are disgraced, you ask yourself first, what have I done? Like somebody who is a grown-up man having children, and then he's moving with mucus running down his nose, and I say, look at you, you're not ashamed of yourself. You are a grown-up person and mucus is in your nose. Then instead of you to check yourself in the mirror, what you'll do now, say, why should you say I'm having mucus in my nose? Or what of the children poo-poo in my body? What do you mean? That's lame. So you look at yourselves and clean it up. State police is long overdue. I agree that some governors, politicians deliberately can use it for personal gain, just like the national, the federal, is using it as they please. You see the convoys of 15 cars with policemen. What are they doing there? There are some who are not ministers, nothing, and the wives of the ministers, no matter how many, each of them have police escort. Why? In the UK, in the US, you go down, get into the metro, go to your office. Why do you need all that? Now make the place secure, so you don't need that security. The security is for the people. So state police is long overdue. And yes, they are coming a little too late. They should ensure that they do the selection properly. It should not be done on ethnic or religious basis. Capitalize, leverage on the availability of elites. It was, I think, right from Goodluck's time. There was this group, they are all over the country. There are local vigilantes all over the country. Work with local traditional rulers. They know the attitudes of the people around them. They know those who have tendencies of betrayal, greedy young men. There are very few. Excommunicate them, put the honest ones inside. Employment is generated, security is guaranteed. So you hardly have issues in the Southwest because of Amotekun, and they're doing well. And when Governor David Jan brought up Operation Rainbow, it was the state assembly that promulgated, passed it as a bill, and they were trained. And so issues of insecurity, when you have an attack somewhere, they are there. They are waiting. They give their lives for it. And it was very minimal when Jan was in. But when along came, it was the exact opposite. So state police is long overdue. And we should have done that yesterday. And yeah, I think I'll stop here. There's a thought came on, just went off my mind.
All right, I was asking Mr. Pam if COPDEM believes in Christian genocide existence in Nigeria. Because he said earlier that he believed in the US boots, US soldiers' boots on Nigerian soil. So I presume that he might also be saying that COPDEM believes that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria.
Okay, as a Christian and someone from the Middle Belt, automatically, from a personal perspective, there's a Christian genocide going. I went to Dogonahawa the very morning. We slept in the gunshots, and a lot of check. Yes, there is. In every instance, the perpetrators, the extremists, the jihadists, will always shout Allahu Akbar, which means this is in the service of the religion. And There's a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. So, but then as a COPDEM, as an organization, we need to go through it by the books. And let me just read what the UN Convention on Genocide is to buttress our position as COPDEM. Now, according to the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crimes of Genocide, 1948, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, or racial or religious group as such. Killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of a group, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births, that is to give birth to children within the group, or forcibly transferring children of a group to another group. If we look at these key indicators of what should be classified as a genocide, everything mentioned here has been meted on Christians, especially when you come to Christian communities. Now, you may claim, like I said, there's mucus in the nose, and you say, I also have children's poop around my body too. Now, why are you calling me that? It is the same thing. Now, for the genocide, whether it is against Muslims, Christians, non-believers, when it affects Christians, Christians should say we are being killed. When it is affecting Anaguta people, or when the Kataf people are being killed, you can see there's a genocide on Kataf people. So the fact that we have a loose government that has not lived up to its responsibilities and people are killed, there's not only one genocide, there are multiple genocides. It's a disgrace and a disservice and a slap on the integrity of the Nigerian leadership. They are disgracing the Nigerian military for not getting this military equipped enough to deal with the issue. So yes, Christians have been killed in their groups, in their churches. Christians fear Christmas now. They fear Easter. Any religious gathering, they are afraid of it. Why? Because that is where you get a lot of numbers. And we learned some of the hired mercenaries who come, they now come in and then they are paid according to the number of deaths that are announced. Yes, causing serious bodily or mental harm. There is no psychological therapy for healing for any Christian that has been attacked. They are left and abandoned in Josiah's camp. And then the owners drove them away. Where do they go to? They don't have an ancestral home to go to, and they don't have even a camp to go to. That is psychologically torturing, deliberately inflicting conditions calculated. Whenever the attacks come, they burn the food in the barns that they cannot take along. They kill even the livestock. Those that they can take, they take along. They are making conditions impossible for them to live there, imposing measures intended to prevent births. Forget that one. Forcibly transferring children. The people we're looking at in Kebbi, Kwara, it's taking children. They're taken from the mission school. So yes, there is a complete genocide on Christians in Nigeria. Now let me add this little caveat to it. Why are we moving into it? Why are they moving into the peaceful Middle Belt? It is because for the political gains of maintaining power in perpetuity, the Constitution provides that you need a percentage of each state. And Plateau State has been the navel or the heart of Christianity within the North. And the Cocking Church in Ekwa Church has national spread. Their headquarters are all in Plateau. A lot of churches that have national spread, their headquarters are in Plateau State. The missionaries we have where they have settled. Bingham University is named after the missionaries that settled. It is the heart of Christianity. Now, When you conquer these people, when you drive them out of their lands, so far, last time I made a public announcement and press something, it was 2022. And there were just about 300 communities that were sacked. Now we have about 500. They are sacked. They're not living there. Where are the people? IDP camps, squatting with people as parasites who are living there. These extremists are there. They're not aware. My neighbor, who is an IDP, said he wants to check his farm when they were sacked. They have planted out on the outskirts of Barkin Ladi in their village in Horse. So they went on a bike. In 3 hours' time, they returned. I said, how come you've gone to your farm and checked the harvest? He said they escaped narrowly. Before you get there, there is an ISWAP flag flying there. Right. This is conquered, and there's nothing they can do. There is genocide of Christian in Nigeria, and we need all the help we can get.
Right. Mr. Prince Rwang Pam Jr., National Chairman, Coalition for the Protection of Democracy. It is nice to have spoken with you. I personally love your insightful contribution, and we believe that Nigeria can only get better if all hands will be on deck, especially from our political leaders, to making sure that they institute policies and also make sure that they see that these policies are implemented to the letter. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing this interview. We are expecting you next time for you to give us an incisive analysis of national issues. Thank you very much for your contribution.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me, and you're welcome anytime. There's much more on the topic, but I'm afraid that's the only time we have for today. So thanks for honoring me with this invitation.